human-made formulas, which means they're not black and white. It's all gray, right? This is the measure of gray. How much gray is there? Cool? Good for you, sister. Please?
I deleted it on my list.
Easy fix. Ready? Got it in your hand? Get your TI in your hand?
No, I can't.
And everybody can do this. It doesn't hurt your TI if everybody does this. It's a nice little cleanup reset. Kind of like every once in a blue moon, you have to turn your computer off, turn it back on, turn your cell phone off, turn it back on. Generally, sometimes that's the way to fix things, especially a Windows machine. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Say that again.
Take the battery out.
That will erase things too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't matter sometimes.
Right. Just to get it to re-go again.
Just so you can get it. Yeah. I remember. Do you ever see that? There's a funny statement attributed to Bill Gates. He was commenting on an auto industry executive who said, you know, if the computer industry had kept up with, wait, hang on a second. No, it was a car industry executive who responded to Bill Gates. Bill Gates said if the car industry had kept up with the computer industry, with the pace of technological improvement of the computer industry, we'd all be driving cars that got 500 miles a gallon right now. And apparently, allegedly, I think it's been proven to not be him, Bill Gates countered with yes. And if the car industry had kept up with the computer industry, you'd also have cars that crashed twice a day for no apparent reason, at which point you have to pull over to the side of the road and restart them for no apparent reason. And they had this whole laundry list of goofy-ass things that your computer does that you have to fix without really knowing why you have to fix them. You've just gotten so used to, like, turn the computer off, turn it back on. You just have to do that. Like, that's dumb. But you have to do it every once in a while. Thank you, Windows. So anyway, I thought that was check that. It's a cute little Snopes email thing. It's adorable. Whoever wrote it had a very good sense of humor. So, what was the one? The car won't restart unless you simultaneously turn on the windshield wipers, turn the radio up to 10, and step on the brake pedal. Like one of those Control-Alt-Delete things. I mean, just like dumb stuff. Who's seen that? You guys must have seen that. Somebody must have seen it. It's so cute. So cute. Anyway, I'll try to find it and put it in the extra resources, because that's what you really need in your schedule page. Ready? Here's how to get your list back. Press the stat button. Press 5. Press enter. Press enter one more time. Does it say done? They're back. Go back and look. They're there for you now. That's just a quick setup editor. If you ever accidentally delete a list, that'll put them back up there for you. It won't erase anything you've already got in. It just makes room for them. If there were numbers in the lists you deleted, it'll bring them back, which is also very nice. It's just a little feature that it's a bug. It's a bug that TI didn't fix, but they gave us a solution to get around the bug they didn't fix, if that makes sense. So, cool?
Cool.
All is well. Got our list back. We're happy. Well, we're 10. Not happy. We're 10. It's the 28th. God, it is. Sweet Jesus. Halloween Friday.
The teacher hears, it's like,
And as if on cue, the weather's getting colder. As if on cue. Central Oregon weather.
Preferably Halloween. Can't wait till it's done.
So, I sent you guys an email this morning about the exam. Hopefully you're having some success on it. Hopefully it's making you think. I do hope it's making you think. Somebody said in my 244 class, why don't you just do multiple choice exams? Because I want my kids to think. I mean, you can survive a multiple choice exam, but I want you to think, and I know you're cursing me because of that.
Well, we've had 500,000 of those.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I don't need another multiple.
Well, I know you don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to train a 25% guesser. I want to train a 100% thinker.
Yeah.
Which I know is frustrating. Especially that number 2 question, which is driving people nuts. I understand this, driving you crazy. How do I know if a graph is not misleading? So I had an idea. Somebody emailed me last night, and I was like, okay, how do you know a graph is not misleading? Okay, so how do you know a graph is good? And I started thinking, I'm like, okay, there's a logical equivalence called a contrapositive. So if you've ever taken any kind of a logic course, and I've been toying around with the idea of putting this in Math 105, the idea of logical connectives, ands, ors, nots, if-then type statements. There's a fun thing called a conditional and a contrapositive. Okay, and you can use that to help you with question number 2. So I gave you some examples in your email, and here's one I just quoted with you guys today. If there's a cat in your gas tank, then your car probably won't start. Okay. If there's a cat in your gas tank, your car won't start. I think we're okay with that, right? That is logically equivalent to, if your car started, there's not a cat in your gas tank. Now that's ridiculous. It's a stupid statement, but it's also true. If your car started, there's not a cat in your gas tank. It's called logically equivalent to the previous statement, because they have the same, what are called truth tables. Don't worry about that right now. how this can help you with your exam is, and I gave you this in the email if you got a chance to read it, but it might not have been 100% clear what I meant by it. If a graph is misleading, then it has some kind of a characteristic that makes it misleading. I've heard a couple people say it's so much easier to find graphs that are wrong than graphs that are right. That pisses me off as an American, because that means the news is full of crap and not actual meaningful stuff. But you're right, it is, because I've now trained you what to look for, right? I've trained you to look for axes that are too short or circles. As soon as you see a graph with circles on it, you're like, I call BS. As soon as you see them, and you're gonna see them all the time. It's amazing, I can't believe that one did it. Anyway, so you now have this set of finite things that make graphs misleading, right? Generally some kind of a truncation or an exaggeration. So if a graph is misleading, then it has either a truncation or an exaggeration.
Right.
So turn that around to a contrapositive. If a graph doesn't have a truncation nor an exaggeration, comma, then it's not misleading.
Right.
Boom! There you go. Look for the things that make a graph wrong and then find a graph that doesn't have those wrong things. Does that make sense? I think what's happening is you guys are overthinking it. You're trying to look for this like, oh, moment, and they don't exist. They're usually hidden back in the corner of some research article somewhere, you know. So I'm stoked to see what you guys come up with. I know you're stoked to have it over. I appreciate that too. But cool. So hopefully that helps. And it also gave me the desire to put logic in 105. I'm going to try it next term. It also helps you do Google searches better. If you have a good idea of Boolean logic, it's called Boolean logic. Ifs, ands, ors, conditionals. It helps you find stuff online more easily. I'm always amazed when an 18-year-old kid can't understand how I can find something so quickly using Google. I'm like, well, I just used the conjunctive. Like, what the hell's the conjunctive? I'm like, oh, sit down. And it's like, how do you not know this? You're 18. Like, you should know more about this than I do. Huh? So, anyway, I think logic is one of those things that belongs in a course. I don't think it belongs in 243, because that would mean I have to push something else out of the way to make room for that in 243. I don't want to do that. Or I could just speed things up, which I definitely don't want to do. That's the worst thing I do. But I think 105. 105. How many of you guys took 105? I know some of you took it with me. Did anybody take 105 not with me? Okay. Linda, who'd you have? Was it Dave? It must have been Dave or Dave. The other two guys.
Online, which,
Oh, you did?
yeah.
Where?
I thought here. Pretty sure.
Wow, okay. I didn't know we offered it online here. I'm like a mushroom to keep it in the dark and feed me poop. Huh. Did not
I
know
opted
that.
for 111
Yeah,
instead.
I did all
You opted for 111 instead?
I didn't need to.
It was like, wow.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a wow. It's about as polar opposite from this course as you can get.
I know.
Yeah, you did more math in the first week of that course than the entire term
Ugh.
here. Yeah, he said some knowing nods.
Yeah.
Anyway, I designed 105, and I think logic is the perfect place for that. Because I'm beginning to realize that that kind of stuff is where it's escaping us. And the ability to use something that's as vague as a contrapositive then becomes... What I can't wait to hear is how you guys remember that in your mind later. I wonder how many of you think I said contraceptive in class. He was talking about contraceptives in class today. I don't know what he's talking about. No, but anyway, that idea of logical equivalence is so important. It's so important. It also helps you to find fault in arguments, which is, Eric, you're like, oh yes.
I got to use it in a Facebook debate just the other day.
If then is not implied, not if, not then. I mean, there's all these things. You can follow somebody's line of logic, and sometimes they escape it. Here's the classic example. I'll give you this one. I was sitting in a writing course, observing one of my colleagues years ago. Did I tell you about this with the getting straight A's one? So she was telling the story. It was a beautiful story actually about how her dad told her senior year of high school if she got straight A's her senior year, then he'd buy her a car. And she told this beautiful story. It was lovely. It was a lovely story about how she worked her ass off and she was blah, blah, blah. And I ended up getting all A's and a B plus. And the class went, oh! And I go, did he buy the car? And the class turned around. She just said if she got straight A's, he'd buy her the car. I'm like, yeah, but he didn't say what would happen if she didn't get straight A's. And their faces just went blank. Because they didn't realize that the if wasn't satisfied, which means the then is then up for grabs. Right? You see what I'm getting at? The only conditional was if she gets straight A's, then he'd buy her a car. Which means the only way that he could get off, that would piss her off, is if she got straight A's and didn't get the car. If she didn't get straight A's, there was never a conditional placed on that, right? It would have had to be more complete. If you get straight A's, then I'll do this. If you don't get straight A's, then I'll do or not do this. But it was vacuous. It was up for grabs at that point, right? And the faces were just completely blank, like, oh my God. And that's when I started thinking, I'm like, maybe logic belongs in 105. And having this discussion now makes me think it should be in there even more. What was yours about? Do you remember, Eric?
It was a religious thing.
Oh yeah, you're never gonna win those. I mean, you can use logic all you want. You can lose logic all you want, but logic and faith don't mix. It's like oil and water.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk with you on victories today because I really do want to hear that, but